what really has always driven you has been policy.
Well, I always thought that the purpose of being in public life was to produce a better country, to bring about change where it was necessary, but also to defend the status quo where the status quo was working. In a sense, I adopted you might say, a selective radical approach or a selective conservative approach. There are things that needed change in Australia when I entered politics, but there are other things that were working extremely well. And why should we change them? And that's what I guess I and a lot of other people on both sides set out to do. And my experience was that most people who entered Parliament, National Parliament, had a certain streak of idealism about them. They wanted to do things that were likely to improve the country. Now, their priorities in that area were dictated by their life's experience, and if somebody had come from a trade union background and had genuinely seen workers being badly treated, you could understand why they would want to improve conditions and make sure the protections were adequate. If somebody had come, as I had, from a small business background and had known just how hard it was to generate and build a small business.
Bit like farming. Bit like farming.
Like farming. You always had a soft spot for that because you understood the adversity that those people faced, and so that's always been the case.
Yeah, that passion for good outcomes for people is not restricted to any one side of politics.
It's not.
I remember some of the most interesting and enjoyable conversations with people I came to respect I had in the Parliament were people who were from quite a left-wing perspective, and politically I don't sit with with some of their views at all, but you had to admire the nobility of their desire to make a difference. And many of those old-timers, I was talking to one just the other day as a matter of fact, said, in the old days we believed in universalism. Our objective was to have the working classes and people who were marginalised or under-recognised, fully recognised as part of the Australian family. But the modern Labor movement, and I'm not really wanting to pursue modern day politics too much here, rather broad principles, but he said there's a tendency now for them to want to break universalism and say there are special people in the names of identity politics.
Well,
there are victims.
I think one of the curses of modern politics is identity politics. The politics that I learnt from the very beginning was the politics of developing a platform that was appealing to people no matter where they came from. You take something like policies for small business I mentioned a moment ago. Now, I thought you develop an attractive policy for small business that appeals to men, it appeals to women. In my time as Prime Minister, a growing percentage of the new small businesses in Australia were started by women. It appeals to people of Chinese background, Italian background, Middle Eastern background, Anglo-Celtic background. In other words, you don't need to pursue the identities if you have the right policy. But what we are now doing is that we're first of all choosing the identity. The goal is to achieve the support of the identity, not to maximise support for a good policy. You identify the group and then you say, what have I got to do to appeal to them? I would say, what policy do I need that will maximise support across all identities? And that is why I object very strongly to identity politics. I think it's one of the reasons Hillary Clinton lost the presidential battle with Donald Trump, because she was seen as somebody who pursued blacks, pursued women, pursued gays, pursued all sorts of groups. Now, you can't have a consistent platform that gathers support from all of those groups. You can't. But if you say, I'm going to build a policy that's attractive to small business, to go back to my example, well, that is completely blind to whether people are black, white, man, woman, gay, straight, whatever. And that is a development. The breakdown of that and the emergence of identity politics is one of the curses of modern politics.